What's up, everybody? Jesse Dietrick here for another episode of the Heart of Hockey Motivation. Today, we are joined by Thatcher Demko, goaltender of the Vancouver Canucks, and I've had the privilege of training him. This is coming up on summer number 5 with Thatcher at Fitness Quest 10. But just an all-around great guy, truly, truly humbled to be able to work with this guy. On and off the ice, he's always pushing himself to get better, and I think in today's interview, you'll get a great sense of that. So, Thatcher, thanks for joining us today, man.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here.
How's it going? Back in San Diego now, huh? A little unexpected.
Yeah, back home when everything kind of got locked down, I was in Van for a few weeks, and then it looked like it was going to be a little bit longer. So my girlfriend and I rented a car and drove down the coast, and I've been hanging out with some family, which has been nice. So just making the most of it.
A long drive, huh?
Yeah, it was long. We've driven a bunch back and forth from Michigan to Boston when I was at BC,
Right.
but that was only about 12 hours. This one was like 20, so it was it tested us for sure, but we got it done in one shot.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I can't believe this is summer number 5. We've been working together.
I know, man. It's
Dude.
flies by. Flies by.
Yeah, when I met Thatcher, he was going into his junior year at BC.
Yeah.
When we met, he was rehabbing from a hip surgery that he had.
Yeah, double hips. Getting them worked on, getting them rehab for
When
you.
you're a goalie, it's just inevitable, right? Like most goalies get that.
I'd say more and more now, just like the way the style of play is going. Goalies are required to kind of get into those awkward positions like the butterfly and post play at much earlier ages. So I think it's going to be more and more common as the game kind of progresses.
Yeah. And since then, we've been through so much training together each offseason. It's been really, really cool to see Thatcher go from Boston College to the NHL and playing in Utica and the AHL in between. And this guy, I've learned a lot about him. He's super dialed in with everything he does. He sets intentions and then he takes action on it. So let's trace it back a little bit. What was it like growing up playing hockey in San Diego? Like, how did you get into it? I mean, hockey's not exactly your hotbed here in Southern California.
Yeah, so my grandparents on my dad's side are both from Guelph, Ontario, Niagara Falls. So they were around it growing up. They were hockey fans. They bounced around a lot as my dad was growing up. And when they eventually landed in San Diego, he just became a huge LA Kings fan. And he had the games on TV, whenever they were playing. So I remember just watching those guys growing up. And I don't know, I was drawn to it right away. And my dad took me out on the ice when I was 3. And I guess the story goes, I just hated it. I wouldn't stop crying. And so they waited a year and took me back when I was 4. And I kind of took off with it then.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Did you start off as a goalie?
No, I was defenseman, I think. I love playing out though. Like my favorite part of hockey in general is like being able to like play D or like play wing. Obviously I just kind of had to pick what I was best at, which was goalie, and kind of ride the wave. But I like switching it up every once in a while. It's just kind of like playing some other sports like I did when I was growing up, like basketball, baseball, lacrosse, soccer. Just mixing it up is fun every once in a while.
I could see you as a huge shutdown D-man for sure.
Oh, man, just stay at home, off the glass, crisp passes.
You and Alec McRae on the D together?
Oh,
shut down.
Get on the ice, shut it down, quick shift length, get right off. Skill guys out there.
So funny. Well, Pat has a son that's just getting into hockey now. A lot of kids watching this are about that age. Was there anything for you when you were getting started with hockey that, like maybe you did a little bit differently than other players, or was it just the love of the game at first, or did you have it in your head at a young age, like, I want to try and do this for as long as I can?
Yeah, so I think I was really naive as a little kid, and I think that ended up playing a huge role for me because as I look back on it, I get that question a lot, like, when did you think you had a chance at making the NHL? And for some reason, there was nothing to back this up at all. But I just remember even from 6, 7 years old, like, I just knew I was going to do it. Like, there was never like, oh, I'm going to try, like, see what happens. like just being a naive kid, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to play in the NHL for sure. And like, I think just unconsciously, I just made decisions that led me to positions where I'd have to perform to have the opportunity to kind of make the jump to the next level. So I honestly am not sure, but I've thought about that a lot. I think it was just maybe a natural disposition of, loving the game and wanting to be involved with it at the highest level I could. And, watching those guys on TV, I just kind of thought that I could do it. There was definitely some confidence in the sense where regardless of where I was, even if I didn't make a team or, I got cut or didn't get a call back, whatever it was, like, I just always knew that all right, I'll just reroute and go a different way then. And there was never any like panic, in my path to where I wanted to go. And I think that does come from a little bit of confidence. And I think that was instilled in me at a young age, just knowing that I wanted to play in the NHL and that I would eventually do it. And then that was kind of the foundation. Then everything that kind of went on after that point was just building on top of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
Absolutely. Is that how you got started playing goalie? Because you didn't start out playing goalie right away. How did you make that transition?
So goalie for me, I just hated coming off the ice. I remember like at big moments in the game, and keep in mind it's house league. They're not important games, but to me they were everything, right? And there would be a minute left in the game, we're down a goal, and I had to go sit on the bench and watch, and I would just cry on the bench because I wanted to be out there. So I was like, all right, how can I fix this? And I just started playing goalie, and I never came off the ice, and it was great. Just stuck with it.
Dude, that's so cool. That's an awesome story right there. I love it. So once you started playing goalie, how old were you at that age? You're like what?
I think I was full-time goalie around 10.
Okay. So 11, 12. No, I know, I already know this story, but we've talked to the kids about goal setting. What did you do as a kid setting goals for yourself?
Yeah. So I think the first time I tried to move away from home, I think I was 11 or 12. I wanted to go to Toronto to be in a more hockey-centric environment. And I was never good enough to make any of those teams. So I ended up always just coming back home and playing at whatever team would take me. And then I went to a goalie camp when I was like 13, and the guy was talking about goal setting, and I was always, eager to do whatever people were telling me might help. And I ended up getting a notebook, and I just wrote down everything that I wanted to do. I did 1 year, I think 5 years, and 10 years. And so I wrote it all down, and a couple years ago, my mom sent me the notebook. She found it in her garage randomly. And it was uncanny, like kind of gave me the chills, where like it was a direct timeline of my entire career. And it was just like, it was insane. It was like go to play in the USHL, which I did at 15. I was the youngest guy in the league that year. And then it was go play at the USNTDP program, which I did the next year. And then it was go to Boston College, which how would I know that I wanted to go to BC at 13? Yeah. I ended up going to BC a year early as a 17-year-old. And then it was eventually make the NHL, which I was honored enough to do. So it was insane to me. And it really showed the power of goal setting, down the line. Like now I'm back into it, right? Like I kind of got away from it a little bit, but then reading that was a good refresher for me for sure.
That's huge. Yeah. I think when you write down goals and you set intentions, you may not be consciously thinking of it all the time, but your subconscious mind's working on it.
Right.
You're going to put yourself in situations to get yourself better.
Yeah. It's important too, for me is I would find, and I still do, I find like when I do write goals down, like it can get lost in the everyday grind, and you get into a routine of, all right, I got to go to the gym and I do my workout, get it done, whatever. But if you can remind yourself of those goals just quickly, like look at them, it takes 2 seconds, just remind yourself, then it gives your workout purpose. It gives your session on the ice purpose. And I think people that have purpose are ultimately going to just set themselves up to succeed.
100%. Yeah. Whether it's in hockey or just life in general.
Life in general, man, for sure. Sure.
I know when I was done with hockey, I never set goals during my playing career, but afterwards you set intentions. And that's something I learned from Todd. And, this day, like I see it paying off. He does it with all of his pro athletes, the Drew Breeses, the Darren Sproles, those guys are all setting goals. And Pat and I were looking into this, but it's less than 2% of people ever write down their goals. And when you write down your goals, you're over 50% more likely to achieve them.
Yeah, I think when you write them down, it makes it tangible, right? Like it makes it real. Like everyone can sit down and be like, man, I wish I had this. I'd love to be able to do this, but it's just a thought. It's not real. You can't touch it.
Yeah.
I feel like when you write it down, it's like, all right, this exists now. Like this is right in front of me. I got to go get it. And so I find it super important to write it down anywhere, note card, notebook, whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely makes it black and white. Makes it
exactly.